Hey, everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers pregame presented by Bet365. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the evening. Joining me live in the Xfinity mobile studio, it is Philly's #1 hockey beat writer, Charlie O'Connor. What's going on today, Chuck?
How's it going, William? It's good to continue to have you back. I'm glad you didn't relapse into sickness.
I'm really glad as well. While I badly needed to lose a few pounds, I don't know if that's the way I wanted to do it. It was a rough few days, as that Seattle game was a rough result for the Philadelphia Flyers after winning the previous two. But we are back tonight with a little Flyers After Dark action. You know, I've always wondered about the hashtag Flyers After Dark thing because, like, most of the season happens in the winter. I gotta put this on Do Not Disturb. Leave me alone, people. Most of the season happens in the winter when it gets dark at like 4:30. All games are after dark. But we do the hashtag Flyers After Dark for the late night games. It should be like Flyers in the AM, quite honestly, because that's when we're doing the post game. Anyway, Flyers Canucks tonight out in Vancouver, the only sheet of ice in all of Vancouver, apparently. Nowhere to practice.
No practice facility.
It's our favorite thing ever to talk about. But before we get into tonight's game, the matchup, Rick Tocchet's return, let's talk about the sweet takeover. That's right. Flyers Ducks, January 6th at the Xfinity Mobile Arena, and we got your hookup. We have the sweet tickets at allphly.com/events. Go get them now. This is going to sell out. This is going to be an awesome event. Make sure you get in on this. It was one of the best games, one of the best atmospheres I've been in at a Flyers game last year, and I got to believe it's going to be even better this year because now Trevor Zegras is in the mix, and Jamie Drysdale is actually playing well, and both teams have, really kind of upped their game a bit, where they have maybe some postseason aspirations. Get in on all the fun. Boo Cutter Gauthier. Make sure everyone in Anaheim knows that Philly appreciates Trevor Zegras. Just go to allphly.com/events. Get your tickets for the January 6th sweet takeover. Gonna be a lot of fun, Charlie. I really want, if nothing, I just need that game every year to be like the Cowboys game. And we just once a year take it upon ourselves to just crap all over the Anaheim Ducks. Like, that's what I really, really need. Like last year, the team clearly fed off of the environment. It's not as if they were playing great hockey at the time. Michkov was in the midst of his mid-season slump. He showed up with a good game. The team showed up. I'm hoping for the same this year. And listen, it's a better team, so it's got to be a better result. That's how I'm looking at it.
I'm just intrigued to see how Trevor Zegras pays his new team a visit. I'm intrigued.
Hat trick is my guess.
That'd be nice.
Hat trick, shootout winner. That's what I'm guessing.
I hope he wants to show Pat Verbeek that he made a mistake.
I hope that as well. All right, Charlie, let us get into tonight's game. It is the Flyers and Canucks out in Vancouver. We will start. It looks like it'll be Dan Vladar between the pipes for the Flyers. He can tie his career high in wins tonight with a win.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's funny because he did it in 23 starts last time. It was 2022-23. He had 23 starts, but 27 appearances. I didn't go through the game logs to see if he got a decision in any of those relief appearances or whatever. But 23rd start, he can match his career high in wins with 14 tonight against Vancouver. And listen, he's had a hell of a season. I like that they've gone to him now as kind of the #1 guy. I think that's without question. I'd like to see Ersson. We've talked about this with the workload and what Vladar's been through in his career. 29 career starts 29 starts as his career high. But I think this is, especially after the loss, you need to get a win in this. You got to go Vladar here, right?
Yeah, I want to flip this back to you, Bill, because okay. I'll be honest with you. I'm surprised. I'm surprised he got this game because of who they're playing tomorrow. Usually you give the guy who's going against his old team, especially when it's going to be back at his old place, that game. They're playing the Calgary Flames tomorrow. I always figured that the plan would be to get Vladar in against his old team in his old barn, just to kind of give him that game. Usually you give the goalie returning to his old team that game. Instead, Vladar gets tonight's game. I have some plausible theories as to why. Some are charitable towards Rick Tocchet, some are not as charitable towards Rick Tocchet, but I'm curious to hear why you think he went with this. You think it's just as simple as they lost on Sunday and he doesn't want them to lose 2 straight?
Yeah, I think that would be the most logical reason. You go with the guy. Listen, it's Vancouver. You can't take it for granted. That's the other thing is, oh yeah, we'll get him in there and it'll be fine. It is odd because the game against Calgary in Philly, that was the Alexei Kolosov game.
Yeah.
So he won't play against his old team in either of their meetings, which is kind of interesting considering at this rate he's going to get a vast majority of the starts this season, except against that team. I wonder if it's he doesn't want it. He wants to, let Dustin Wolf, whatever. I don't know. I find it a little odd though, going there tomorrow, and it's the back-to-back, so it's not well, maybe, it's no, you're not gonna, you're gonna start Ersson tomorrow. That's what's going to happen. I think it's as simple as, at least in my mind, maybe you have some theories. They lost to Seattle. We really don't want to start this trip 0-2. We want to get back on track, and hey, put us in line. It's not like Calgary's all that good either. Put us in line to win 2 in a row if we can just get one tonight.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think the Occam's razor answer is they lost last game. He doesn't want to lose again. He's going with the better goalie. Another theory, and you kind of touched on it, is maybe Vladar doesn't want to play against his old team. Maybe this is something that he really doesn't want to do. He doesn't want to play against his buds. He doesn't really have anything against them, so he's not pushing for this game. Another possibility, which was an intriguing one that I was pondering earlier today, maybe there's a concern that they think Calgary might have the book on Vladar. And they don't want Vladar to go up against his old team because they might know how to beat him, given the fact that they went up against him in practice every day for multiple seasons. The not charitable explanation is Tocchet really wants to beat his old team, so he's going with the better goalie. That's the selfish reason for this. But as I said, there are some positive Tocchet reasons for this, and some not negative, but a little selfish. That's the selfish one.
I hadn't even considered he really wants to beat Vancouver. I hadn't even considered that as much as, well, they just got to not lose 2 in a row. That's kind of where they are right now with the way the East is. Everyone's got the same record, basically. You don't want to be the team that goes into the tailspin. And so you go with your number 1 tonight. That did cross my mind, though. A player up against his old team, it's he's just revved up. It's all energy, skater, you're going to go out there and you're just going to have that little extra motivation. For a goaltender, it's all those guys have taken hundreds of shots on me before. They have watched the film where I have allowed goals. They've shot on me in practice. Perhaps maybe not the best thing, especially for a goalie who, tremendous season thus far, Vladar, but career success, he's been mediocre. Don't allow the opportunity for him to regress. Maybe there's a little bit of that as well, but I'm just happy we get to see the number 1 tonight because it's right now, and that's what I am looking forward to seeing. According to Jackie Spiegel, doesn't look like as of now there are any lineup changes, and she has tweeted the line, so it does look like we are getting what we have come to expect the lineup to be. It's going to be Dvorak with Zegras and Cates, Coots with Barkey and Tippett, Cates with Michkov and Brink, and Abels, Grunstrom, Gurbenkin, that new look 4th line. I guess it's not really the new look 4th line anymore. It's been a couple of weeks, but in my head, or a few games at least, but in my head, it's the new look 4th line.
Now it's just the 4th line.
Yeah. No shocks here in the no lineup changes. The defense remains the same. Vladar over Ersson. This is the lineup we have now come to expect from Rick Tocchet and the Philadelphia Flyers, as long as the health situation stays as is, I guess.
Yeah, and as I said, it's now just the 4th line. I don't think it's a new look 4th line anymore. This is just now their 4th line. I was a little intrigued, given the way the Seattle game went, in terms of them not being able to really score. Now, they had territorial play advantage. They had chances. They had shots. they weren't really able to score much aside from that one Grunstrom shot that he quickly gave back up on the very next shift. But I was a little surprised they kept the lines the same. But I suspect this may be like the final game they keep them together. If they have another game where they struggle to score, I imagine Tocchet will do some juggling for tomorrow's game against the Flames. But I guess he's looking at it as, hey, let's give him another shot. Maybe they were just snake bitten. Maybe Philip Grubauer just had a really good game, and that's why we didn't score. If they score a bunch of goals tonight, they'll stay together. If they don't, I suspect that's when the shakeup will come. But he's clearly given them one more game to show that Monday or Sunday night was a fluke.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I'm just looking at something, it's not as if, I know early season we're like, my God, this team is just scoring one goal on 18 shots every night. They got to figure something out here. But since, I'm trying to bring this up quickly, since mid-November, they have been pretty good offensively.
Yeah.
I'm looking here, goals for per game since the November 14th. They are 11th in the league at 3.14. Like, we're talking about a month and a half now. Yeah. They've had just as much time scoring decently as they did. Oh man, this offense is just never going to come around. And then there is, of course, the looming, hey, what if Michkov ever gets hot? You know, like the guy who was second on the team in scoring, first in goals last year. What if he gets going? Suddenly this thing looks a little bit different. But I could see if tonight, because we'll get to Vancouver in a bit. Yeah. If they have trouble scoring tonight, you might look to switch things up. Just juggle some things, see if you can get something else going, because Vancouver is not good.
Yeah. And this is, as we talked about last game, this is a trip where I know they lost the Seattle game, but this is a trip where they should be able to rack up some wins. Vancouver's not a very good team. Calgary's not a very good team. Edmonton has McDavid, and they're good. Maybe they're not as good as people thought they were going to be, but I don't think anybody believes they're going to miss the playoffs or anything. They're a good team that's going to have a chance to win the cup. So these two games, this one against Vancouver, tomorrow against Calgary, I'm not saying it's easy because it's, on a road trip, you've got travel, but there's a world where they sweep this. Obviously, you got to win tonight before you win tomorrow, but neither of these teams are that good. The Flyers, while they didn't win Sunday's game against Seattle, I would say they got the overall better of play, and their thought process probably, hey, if we get the better overall play against Vancouver, which given the fact that they just traded Quinn Hughes, they're a weaker team than they were a few weeks ago, there's a good chance you're going to outshoot them and outchance them. You got to outscore them too.
And let's talk about this little matchup here before we get to the break, because this is Rick Tocchet's first game against the team with which he coached 200 regular season games, and he went 108, 65, and 27 over 2.5 seasons. He won that Jack Adams in his first full year, 2023-24, where they won the Pacific Division. They had the 6th most goals for, 5th fewest goals against that year. They were a really, really good team. Got to the playoffs, beat the Preds, then lost to those Oilers in 7. There's the whole Pettersson-Miller feud that kind of loomed over his time as the coach. How important do you think this game is for Toc?
I'm sure he wants it. That said, I think there's probably on his part more of a sense of relief than a sense of I need to get these guys, because usually when a coach faces his old team, he's facing a front office that fired him. He's facing a GM that fired him, maybe an owner who wanted to clean house, something like that. In this case, Tocchet's the guy who left this team. Tocchet chose to leave. They wanted him back. Tocchet was the one who waved goodbye to them.
There was a mutual option, and he was like, bye-bye.
Yeah, I don't want it. So my guess is that more than anything, especially after seeing Quinn Hughes get traded, he's probably thinking man, I got out while the getting was good. I got out while I still could. Look, I'm sure he wants to win. I'm sure there are probably people in that organization, not everybody. I'm sure he likes the vast majority of people in the organization, but I'm sure there are probably people in that organization, maybe even people on the team, that he's not the biggest fan of, that he'd like to see his new team beat to kind of validate some of his opinions on some of those guys. But overall, I don't get the sense he hates Vancouver, and he really shouldn't. He's the guy who said he didn't want to coach them anymore, not the other way around.
Yeah, and listen, it was, I think, pretty predictable what was going to happen to Vancouver, especially if you had some information on Quinn Hughes. Oh no, people think he wants to play with his brother, and maybe that's it, but it just seems like when the president is out there in the offseason preparing the fan base for like, he might want to leave. And then in that case, what can we do? Like, chances are you're not going to have your best player anymore. We know he liked JT Miller. That guy got traded, before the end of last season. So he kind of probably had a pretty decent idea where this thing was going. All right, I want to talk a little bit more Tocchet, but his relationship with his current team and the media as well. That damn media, Charlie. You and your cohorts.
We're so terrible.
Just the worst. We'll talk about that on the other side, but first we need to take a quick break. Do we really want Matvei Michkov playing goalie? No, because it's not worth the risk, time, or money. It just doesn't make sense. You want to keep your stars focused on doing what they do best, and the same goes for your business. And Togo can help any business looking to streamline operations, become more efficient, or unlock more time for their best people. From customer service and accounting to order management, logistics, admin, and data entry, and even complex multi-step operational processes, Togo takes it off your plate at a fraction of the cost. And every engagement with Togo starts with free process mapping and engineering. Togo doesn't bill a dime until the real work begins, with programs starting as low as $1,000 a month, so you're not even going to break the bank. Each Togo program includes dedicated staff, custom automations, and US-based process engineers who act as your quarterback, giving you complete control, total transparency, and instant efficiency. At Togo, you call the plays, we execute. Visit harnesstogo.com. Scale smarter, work faster, and stay focused on winning. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. From the 90 million users worldwide to the almost 800,000 live stream events each year. But I got to tell you about the Bet365 early payout offer for their NHL games. That's right, because you're a winner if your team gains a 3-goal lead with an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners as well. It is that easy with the Bet365 NHL early payout offer. And we have breaking news from our friends at Bet365. New customers now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5, win or lose. All you got to do is sign up, use code PHLY365, deposit $10, and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets, whether your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, total, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, Chuck. So I want to go back to, I guess when I was sick, I missed a bunch of this. And it's the Rick Tocchet quotes when he was admonishing you bastards about asking about Matvei Michkov too much. And we have some quote graphics. I guess he'd had 5 or 6 questions in a row.
4, actually. No, first he said 6, then he cut it to 5. It was actually 4.
It was only 4. He says, we're 17-10, which is an interesting way to look at things. This is back when they were 17-10-7, I believe.
Correct.
We're 17-10. We've got a good record. I've answered 6 Michkov questions. I mean, guys, enough's enough. And then goes on with, we've got Vladar having a great year. Drysdale playing really good 5-on-5 for us. Yorkie's doing a real good job. We've got a lot of players playing good on the team. I mean, this is the 5th question. I appreciate it, but you're trying to make something that's not there. And then finally, he's got to learn, he being Michkov, has got to learn to play the game, and he's trying. He's a lot better defensively. He's a lot better playing a team game, and that's how you win hockey games. It's not about catering to one person. I hate to tell you guys, that's it.
You really wanted to talk about this, didn't you?
I honestly hadn't seen it until today after more stuff came up. And this is where I think the disconnect is happening, Charlie. More stuff comes up today. It was Paul Bissonnette of TNT and Spittin' Chicklets on one of the daily face-off programs. Biz, this happens, and it's brought to the attention like, well, the media just can't stop talking about him. And it's just kind of everyone is living in this Michkov-centric world. And it's really led to a lot more discourse. And here is where I think the disconnect is with fans. Fans hear someone like Biz say this stuff, and they think it's coming from Rick Tocchet. Like, plain and simple, that is what people believe. I don't know if that's true or not. No idea. I really hope it's not. I really hope the coach of the Philadelphia Flyers isn't going to one of the most influential people in hockey media and being like, man, this effing guy. And they won't stop asking me about him. And then that guy goes and pours flames on the fire, so he gets even more questions about it. Like, and then there's this never-ending cycle where eventually Michkov just says, I'm done with this, and ends up playing with, I don't know, Kaprizov in Minnesota or something. But or just goes back to the KHL, says, screw this. I don't think any of that's going to happen. But first, Charlie, what are your thoughts on going back to this, and then we'll get to the present? What were you thinking when you hear this from the coach?
Well, I mean, my issue with it at its core, and look, I'm responding to this as a media person because I think that what's going on here, and I spoke to this on Twitter today about the Paul Bissonnette stuff. It feels like as a media person, as people who cover the team, it feels like we're getting hit from both sides. You have the people on the team are like, why won't the media shut up about this kid? And then you have the fans being like, why aren't you, the media, talking more about the the injustice that's being done to Matvei Michkov? And it's infuriating to me because it's like, look, if Rick Tocchet is mad at the fans for obsessing over Matvei Michkov, you know what? Fair. Like, look, it's your job to be the coach of the team. It's not your job to deal with the fans. But if you're annoyed that they keep bringing this up over and over again, and it's constant chatter on social media, like, you have every right to be annoyed by that. But don't pin it on the media. Like, if anything, we're not asking as many questions about Michkov as the fans want us to. That's what's really going on here. The fans love this kid. They love Michkov. They want Michkov to be the top story for every show. I wrote a column about this a week ago after it happened. And I was like, me and Bill did a show a week prior, a show where the game went into a shootout. They lose in a shootout. And everyone in the chat that we see on the show is not talking about zegras having another good game. It's not talking about how close of a game it was. It's all about Michkov. That's what people want to talk about. If anything, we, as in the media that covers the team, are purposely trying to not only talk about Michkov, because to me, it's a story. It's not that the story has run its course. It's that we already know what's going on. Like, there's nothing interesting about it.
There's no new information.
There's no new info.
That's my thing, is like, I'll do it till the cows come home as long as there's like something new to say. But
there's not.
Like, he's playing third line minutes, and that's the way it is right now. And he's not looked particularly impressive in those minutes. So, like, what am I supposed to do about it? Like, if he was a point-a-game player and he's playing 13 minutes, I'd be banging the table. But nothing has changed.
I guess
he's had some good games. He's had some mad games.
I guess I just feel like, as a media person, I feel like I'm getting pulled in two directions. I feel like Tocchet's yelling at me to stop asking questions about Michkov, and then fans are yelling at me to ask more questions about Michkov. And it's like, I wish I could just like step back and be like, Tocchet, you're mad at the fans. Fans, you're mad at Tocchet. Yell at each other. Leave me out of it.
And I think that's totally fair. But it does kind of feel like then there's more like thrown on the fire, like whether it's intentional or not, because Tocchet's finally just like, listen, man, I'm trying to teach him to play effing hockey, because like, that's not what they teach you over there. It's certainly not what he got taught in Sochi, where, he was just basically a one-man show because it's a fake team. Like, half of his teammates are just there to collect a paycheck because they need a certain number of teams to fill out the league. Like, I'm just trying to channel Tocchet here. He's like, and they're not playing real hockey, and I'm trying to teach him to do that. And then people go, well, now he's throwing Michkov under the bus. It's like, you wanted us to ask the questions. He answered the question, and now you're mad about the answer. It does kind of feel like a no-win. But then when something like this Biz thing happens today, this was 8 days ago. These quotes came out about the original Tocchet. Like, stop asking me. I've had 5, 6, however many questions it was, 4, enough. This is now 8 days later, and it comes up again. Do you think some fans who think the team is, I don't know, trying to run him out of the city or something? I don't really know what the motivation is, but I've seen people who are like, they want to get rid of him.
Yeah, I honestly don't even want to talk about that because it's ridiculous. Like the team, the front office does not want to trade this guy. Is it possible that Rick Tocchet isn't the biggest fan of Matvei Michkov? Yeah, sure, that's possible. But as I said 2 weeks ago when we talked about this, the last coach wanted to trade Morgan Frost from the day he got here for 2.5 years, and it took 2.5 years for it to happen, and he did not have the upside nor the status that Matvei Michkov does. So, like, I don't think it matters if Rick Tocchet is like, I don't love this guy right now. That's why I'm just like, again, this is why I'm sick of the discourse.
Do you think there's something to guys like Biz, who we perceive to have a relationship with the coach, throwing fuel on the fire?
I think Bissonnette is probably reflecting Rick Tocchet's, because I think there is a distinction, an important distinction to be made. I don't get the sense that Rick Tocchet actively dislikes Matvei Michkov. He's probably frustrated with him. He's probably frustrated that he has to give him ice time that maybe he doesn't necessarily think he deserves at the moment because he has people above him being like, no, we got to develop this kid. He's really important. Is there a frustration there? Maybe. But I've seen him do so many one-on-one conversations in practice, working with him directly. I think he likes the kid. I think he is sick of the discourse. I don't think I think there's a distinction between being sick of Michkov, the person, and being sick of Michkov, the concept. I think he is absolutely sick of Michkov, the concept. And I think that Bissonnette is probably reflecting that like frustration from his buddy Tocchet. But I don't think that necessarily has to mean that he hates the kid.
Yeah, that's like the disconnect for me is, listen, maybe Rick Tocchet really does harbor all this anti-Russian sentiment that we keep hearing about. But like, when I just see him interact with the player and when I hear him talk, I do not hear a guy who dislikes the player. I hear a guy who wants more out of him and is going to try to get it. And like, that might not be an easy process that fans enjoy, but I don't hear a guy like who openly dislikes the player. And we have, maybe it's different because like John Tortorella would just basically tell you, like, he'd just be like, yeah, man, Morgan Frost is sitting because I'm trying to get him to quit professional hockey, like, and maybe we're not getting that, so it's not as direct, but I just don't get that same vibe. I don't know. All right, we have a couple of things I want to cruise through here, Charlie. I wanted to talk all about the Canucks, but honestly, there's not a ton to talk about. They're not very good. They don't score. They get scored on a lot. Their power play is decent, so what their penalty kill is bad, so it's a lot like the Seattle game. Don't take any penalties and score when given the opportunity. They did one of those two things against Seattle, and it led to their loss. Let's see if they can do 2 of 2 tonight. Here's another Tocchet Canucks relationship with player question for you. Just one thing I want to get to.
Okay.
If there was no perceived issue between he and Rick Tocchet, no baggage, you just had a 27-year-old center in the second year of an 8-year deal worth $11.6 million in a cap hit, would you, Charlie O'Connor, want Elias Pettersson?
He would certainly be on my list of players. Like there would be other players I would rather have than him, given the fact that like usually when there's smoke, there's some fire. And he also has struggled the last couple of years in terms of living up to that contract. So you're trading for a guy on a bad contract, or at least not on a good contract, who's locked up forever. So yeah, like I wouldn't love the idea of like taking that on and taking on all that risk, but also the Flyers need a 1C. And if he's like the best guy you can get, then sure. That said, as you hint, it's never going to happen as long as Rick Tocchet's the head coach of this team.
Probably not. But just looking at it, 9 goals, 23 points in 30 games. In the 2.5 years since he had that big 102-point season, he has scored at a 73-point pace. He'll be 28 next November, so he's still relatively young. The reason he's still near the top of my list is while maybe he isn't the superstar scorer, he's also on a team that doesn't score. Like he is currently right now tied for the team lead with 23 points with Quinn Hughes, who hasn't played there in almost 3 weeks. 2 of Vancouver's top 3 scorers are defensemen. One, again, who hasn't played since December 11th for that team. The other was Quinn Hughes' D partner. Like, maybe the team just stinks and a little change of scenery would help. Also, he's a guy who's received Selke votes in his career. Perhaps, if not the superstar scorer, he's still a really good two-way forward. Like, I wouldn't hate the idea based on one thing. The Canucks are cheap. They may just not want to pay him $11.6 million for the next 7 years. If the acquisition cost is relatively low, that moves him up my list. That's like, considering the assets they have, the assets they've already spent, it wouldn't drive me nuts.
Well, I don't think you're going to have to worry about it, William, because I do agree with you. I actually think you're absolutely right in that the asset cost in a trade would be very cheap. 100% agree with that. The thing is that it's a very cheap asset cost because he's getting paid $11.6 million and he's not playing like $11.6 million player, and he's under contract for another, 6 years, and he's got a no movement clause, and he ain't waiving that. No, regardless whether Tocchet liked him, I'm pretty sure Elias Pettersson is not waiving his no movement clause to play for the guy who coached him into this position in the first place.
Maybe, maybe not. No one wants to play in Vancouver, though. And 11.6 isn't what it used to be. All right, we got to get to pregame picks. We're already over time. It's time for our Bet365 pregame picks. Sign up for Bet365. Use code PHLY365 to deposit $10 and then place a bet for $5 and get $150 in bonus bets, whether your bet wins or loses. Must be 21 plus an NPA. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 3 bets tonight, Charlie. We're going to get that Denver Parkey anytime goal. Damn it.
We're going for it again.
One. This team gives up a ton. Maybe it's tonight. Bobby Brink anytime goal. He's gone 5 straight without one, so why not? Plus 450. Let's do it. And Trevor Zegras over half a point at minus 165 because he didn't have one last game. Let's start another point streak tonight. Those are the Bet365 pregame picks, and that is all the time we have for you. Oh, no, there's the super chat. That's right. Sorry, Bren. You did tell me that. From Adam S. It says, Biz and Wit from the Spit and Chicklets pod are acting in bad faith. They hate the Flyers and are just trying to stir things up to cause drama.
I don't think Biz hates the Flyers. Wit,
I don't think Biz hates the Flyers. Maybe now because he has been talking about Michkov. He does. But Wit openly says, I hate Philadelphia and the Flyers. I don't know if they're like attempting to cause drama. I also don't know if they're like smart enough to really like dissect every aspect of a story before just saying something. You know, I do think there's a little bit of like, they're not all that bright. All right. And then from Adam S., do you think something more serious went on in Dubai than a fender bender that the organization had to get Michkov out of and they're still mad about it?
No,
I don't.
No.
Because like, if that was the case, they would have figured out a way to like get out of paying him. You know, like he wouldn't be here. All right. And that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for hanging out. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Follow us right here. We'll be live with post-game, so make sure you're following us on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers and follow the pod as well. I am Bill Matz. That is Charlie O'Connor. Till post-game, let's go Flyers.
We all silly.